Picture this, a high-stakes showdown between two economic giants, where one nation's bold defiance could set off ripples across the world's markets, and maybe even tip the balance of global power. China's just issued its first official clapback to President Donald Trump's fiery threat of slapping 100% tariffs on Chinese imports by November 1st. And it's a message that screams, "We're not backing down." But here's where it gets controversial. Could this be the moment that ignites an all-out trade war? Or is there still room for cooler heads to prevail? Let's dive in and unpack what's really going on, step by step, so even if you're new to the world of international trade, you can follow along easily. On Sunday, China made its position crystal clear in a statement from its Commerce Ministry posted online. They emphasized that their approach hasn't wavered. "We do not want a tariff war, but we are not afraid of one." This wasn't just empty words. It was their direct reply to Trump's announcement about those sky-high tariffs, which came as retaliation for China's recent crackdown on exporting rare earth minerals. For beginners wondering what rare earths even are, think of them as a group of 17 elements crucial for manufacturing high-tech gadgets and equipment. They're like the unsung heroes behind everything from your smartphone's battery to military-grade radar systems. Without them, many modern innovations would grind to a halt. Trump's move was a response to China's new rules tightening controls on these minerals, which are vital for a slew of consumer products and defense tech alike. The back and forth could even jeopardize a potential summit between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, potentially wrecking a fragile peace deal in their ongoing trade spat. Remember, earlier this year, both countries had briefly escalated tariffs to over 100%, creating a tense standoff that many hoped was behind them. Trump has been wielding tariffs like a weapon since he took office, hiking them against various trading partners to push for better deals. China, however, has stood its ground, leveraging its massive economic influence. In their statement, the Commerce Ministry shot back, calling out the U.S. for repeatedly using high tariffs as a tactic. Frequently resorting to the threat of high tariffs is not the correct way to get along with China, they declared, framing it as a series of responses from an anonymous spokesperson to questions posed by media outlets. Instead, they urged settling disputes through talks and dialogue. But here's the part most people miss. The ministry didn't stop at words. They warned that if the U.S. pushes ahead stubbornly, China will resolutely take corresponding measures to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. On top of the 100% tariff threat, Trump also dangled the idea of export bans on what he vaguely called critical software, leaving everyone guessing what exactly that entails. And this is where the controversy really heats up. Both sides are pointing fingers, accusing each other of breaking the truce. Trump lashed out on social media, labeling China as very hostile and accusing them of holding the world captive by limiting access to rare earth metals and magnets. It's a narrative that paints China as the aggressor, but is it that simple? From China's perspective, the U.S. has been the one escalating, rolling out fresh restrictions in recent weeks, like adding more Chinese firms to lists for U.S. export controls. Regarding rare earths, the ministry clarified their stance. Export permits would be issued for genuine civilian purposes, but they acknowledge the mineral's dual-use nature, which includes military applications. Their updated rules now require foreign companies to obtain Chinese government approval before exporting any products containing these minerals, even if the goods aren't made in China. To put this in perspective, China dominates the global market, producing nearly 70% of the world's mined rare earths and handling about 90% of their processing. This dominance has become a major sticking point in U.S.-China negotiations, with access to these resources often feeling like a game of high-stakes chess. These minerals power everything from jet engines and electric vehicles to everyday items like laptops and cell phones. China's export curbs have already disrupted manufacturers in Europe, the U.S., and beyond, creating shortages and higher costs. For instance, imagine a European automaker trying to build eco-friendly EVs. Suddenly, they can't get the magnets they need without jumping through hoops, potentially delaying production and hiking prices for consumers. Adding fuel to the fire, China pointed out that the U.S. is brushing aside their grievances by implementing new port fees on Chinese ships starting this Tuesday. Just last Friday, China retaliated by announcing similar fees on American vessels. It's a tit-for-tat that underscores how these trade tensions can spiral into broader economic skirmishes. So, what's your take on all this? Is Trump's hardline approach justified in protecting American interests? Or does China's ironclad stance make them the underdog in a David and Goliath struggle? And here's a controversial twist. Some argue that China's control over rare earths is a strategic advantage, almost like a superpower leverage, while others see it as unfair monopoly that stifles innovation worldwide. Do you think diplomacy can still win out? Or are we headed for a tariff showdown that hurts everyone? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss.